Look, I know it's the offseason and everything feels kind of quiet, but if you're a Chargers fan, this ain't the time to zone out. Because let me tell you, this roster, it's almost set. We're like 97, 98% there. And that last couple percent, that's where things get real. You've got guys fighting for their NFL careers. Some names you know, some you probably forgot about. And a few rookies who might just surprise everyone. Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz aren't playing around. This team looks different. It feels different. And honestly, that final roster is going to say a lot about where this franchise is headed. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. So, here's the thing. It's not just about who makes the team. It's about what the roster says about the culture. And that's what's changed. We're not running with that old top-heavy build anymore. Those days of having 3 or 4 studs and just hoping the rest of the guys stay healthy, that's gone. Joe Hortiz came in and went to work. This roster has real depth now. Like, position after position, there are legit battles happening. That's what happens when you bring in a GM who actually understands how to fill out a 90-man camp roster with intention, not just bodies. The message from Harbaugh and Hortiz is clear. Competitors are welcome. If you can't earn it, you're out. And that brings us to the bubble guys. Man, this camp is going to be brutal for some of them. There are a lot of names on that edge, and we're not talking about no-name guys either. Let's start with Quentin Johnston. Yeah, that's a real story. Year 2 was supposed to be his breakout. Instead, inconsistent, frustrating, and honestly hard to watch sometimes. He had a couple flashes. That Raiders game at the end of the season comes to mind. But outside of that, not much. Now, the front office goes out and drafts Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, adds Luke Grimm into the mix, and you suddenly realize, where exactly does Quentin Johnston fit in this picture? Some people still believe in him. And look, maybe he turns it around in year 3. But when you've got all that new talent pushing, and Johnston still has issues with concentration and drops, it's fair to ask the question, is he even guaranteed a roster spot at this point? Or do we let him ride out his rookie deal and then quietly walk away? One thing's for sure, a 5th-year option? That's not happening. Then there's Jaylen Regor. I'll be honest, the moment he dropped that ball in the end zone against the Cardinals, I kinda knew where this was heading. He was brought in as a special teams piece, but when you can't even make the simple plays, that leash gets short real quick. With how crowded this receiver room is, I don't see a world where he makes the 53rd practice squad. Maybe, but even that's going to be tough. Now, let's talk about Hassan Haskins. I like the guy. He had a couple decent moments last year. That shovel pass touchdown stands out. And on special teams, he's always been solid. But here's the problem. This backfield is loaded. We're talking Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton, Kamani Vidal, and Raheem Sanders, all younger, all cheaper, and in some cases more versatile. If Raheem Sanders can handle special teams duties too, then what exactly is Haskins bringing that someone else can't? It sucks, but he might be the odd man out unless he has a ridiculous preseason. Then there's the quarterback's room. And I know some people were surprised by the signing of Trey Lance, but when you look at the contract, it makes more sense. It's heavily incentive-based. He's only making real money if he plays. And let's be honest, if he's on the field for us this year, something's gone very, very wrong. But he's got tools, the arm, the mobility. It's all there. He just hasn't put it together. Still, with Justin Herbert as your starter and Taylor Heinicke there as your primary backup, Trey Lance becomes that stash and develop guy. The interesting thing is, if he flashes in the preseason, don't be surprised if a team like the Saints or somebody in need of quarterback help tries to trade for him. On defense, the bubble watch gets even more real. Tony Jefferson is one of those guys I've got my eye on. Veteran presence, played well last year when called upon, brings leadership. But he's 33, and this safety room is starting to get crowded. Mickens is already making noise. Trickweez Bridges is another name that could push hard during camp. You've also got guys like Derwin James and Elijah Molden locked in, and it becomes a numbers game. Do we really carry 5 safeties? If we do, maybe Jefferson sticks as that break glass in case of emergency guy. If not, he could be a practice squad elevation candidate week to week. Dean Leonard is another guy who's been around for a bit. Solid special teamer, even had a pick in the playoffs last year. But the corner room got deep fast. You've got Dante Jackson, Benjamin St. Juste, Cam Hart. Jacer Taylor, Tarheeb still, it's not going to be easy to squeeze in. Leonard's got the speed and he's physical, but he's going to need a big camp to hold on to his job. And then there's Zion Johnson. Now look, he's not on the bubble in the traditional sense. He's going to be on this team. But he's being tested at center, and honestly, the early snaps haven't looked great. There's talk about him starting week 1 at center against Chris Jones, and I'm just going to say it. That feels like a recipe for disaster. If they stick with it, fine. But if they pivot to Bradley Bozeman or Andre James, I wouldn't be shocked either. It's going to be one of the big camp battles to watch. On the D-line, the spotlight is on Justin AOGby. Last year was basically a redshirt season for him, but now there's no hiding. With guys like Morgan Fox and Poona Ford gone, the Chargers need guys to step up. They brought in Tier Tart, Dashawn Hand, and Jamaree Caldwell, but this is where AOGby needs to show he can be a real part of the rotation. He looked solid in preseason last year. Now, it's time to do it when it counts. Speaking of Jamaree Caldwell, there's pressure on him too. He's got to be that run stuffer, that first and second down plug that keeps offenses from gashing us up the middle, because let's be real, stopping the run has been a problem for this team for years. If Caldwell can be that guy, it changes the whole identity of this defense. Now, let's wrap it up with a few individual updates because some players are just standing out already. First off, Junior Colson. I know people were worried after last season. All the injuries, the missed time, the appendectomy during camp, it was just bad timing. But he's healthy now. He looks strong, and this staff believes in him. Don't be surprised if he ends up leading the team in tackles this year. Derwin James made an appearance on the Greenlight podcast and shouted out Trey Harris and RJ Mickens specifically. That's not nothing. When a veteran leader like Derwin gives you that nod, that means you're turning heads. It's early, but you love to hear that kind of praise. Then there's Mike Williams. I don't think people are talking about him enough. This guy was the last Chargers wideout to have double-digit touchdowns, and he still has chemistry with Herbert. If he's fully healthy, and all signs are pointing that way, he could quietly have a monster season. And shout out to Cameron Dicker. The guy might have a future as a TV host. No joke. He's got that personality. If he ever hangs up the cleats, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be on somebody's game show set within a year. Bottom line, this roster is built to compete. It's not perfect. No team is, but the depth, the internal competition, and the cultural shift under Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz is undeniable. There's still a long way to go before we kick things off for real, but one thing's clear. This isn't the same Chargers team we've been watching the past few years. And that's a good thing. But now, I want to hear from you guys. Who do you think is on the bubble? Is Quentin Johnston going to survive another year? Or is it time to move on? Do you trust Zion Johnson at center? Or should someone else step in week 1? And out of all the new names, Trey Harris, Junior Colson, RJ Mickens, who do you think is going to make the biggest impact this season? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk it out.